Ma Dalton is the 38th adventure of Lucky Luke and was first published in 1971. The drawings were provided by the comic's creator, Maurice, and the story was written by René Goscinny. 10 years later, this comic was made into an episode of the first animated television series of Lucky Luke adaptations. Very unfaithful adaptations, as the episodes, co-produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions, only kept the bare essence of the original source's storyline, and besides character designs, changed more or less everything else, making the series much more of a cartoony cartoon. And so here are all the differences. The episode begins with Lucky Luke acting as narrator and telling the audience that prison guard dog Rin Tin Can has been changed to Joe Dalton. In the comic, Rin Tin Can is not attached to Joe until page 9. Luke has escorted a wagon transporting the local miners' payroll. In the episode, Luke and Jolly Jumper have just wandered into town, whereupon he puts his horse through a car wash parody. Luke then saves an old lady from being run over by a stagecoach, though Jolly Jumper still gets hit by it. Ma Dalton is very cross that Luke grabbed her. In the comic, Luke helps the old lady cross the street, which she naturally thanks him for. The shop Ma robs is a butcher's in the comic and a bakery in the episode. Ma knocks Lucky Luke over and steps on him, as does the baker. This does not happen in the comic. The shopkeeper Ma Dalton robs explains to Lucky Luke that the people in town aren't afraid of the old woman because her gun isn't loaded. This is then shown not to be true, but the townfolk still don't know that. In the episode, the townfolk are clearly well aware that Ma's gun is loaded, but are seemingly choosing not to consider her a potential threat. Ma returns to her little house where we first meet her scruffy black cat, Sweetie. In the episode, after Ma leaves town, Sweetie is introduced chasing a prairie dog, who then beats him up. The Dalton brothers are now introduced, breaking rocks as usual, and are informed that their mother is coming to visit them. In the comic, the Daltons are first seen in their cell, where William is reading a letter sent by their mother. Ma has brought her sons a baguette containing a file. She also brought Sweetie to visit them, which prompts Rin Tin Can to chase after the cat, dragging Joe along with him. In the comic, Ma doesn't help her sons escape, or even ask them to do so. Instead, she sends them a letter saying she met Lucky Luke for the first time. Also, while Rin Tin Can chasing Sweetie is a recurring moment in the comic, it doesn't happen until page 13. The Daltons escape from prison after they set it on fire. In the episode, they escape by making holes in the wall using the file Ma gave them. Lucky Luke is informed about the Daltons' escape via a letter from the prison warden. In the episode, Luke has hurried to the prison for he has a premonition that the Daltons are going to escape. Incidentally, the warden in this episode is modelled after the warden from A Cure for the Daltons, instead of the regular warden with the big bushy white moustache. The Daltons arrive at their family home, having somehow acquired their usual out-of-prison clothing. In the comic, they are still in their prison uniforms until page 18. Avril spots Lucky Luke heading for the shack, so Ma tells her sons to hide in the cellar. Although Luke is a bit suspicious, he leaves without searching inside. In the episode, it is Joe who notices Luke and Jolly Jumper, who appear to be jogging on the spot, and this prompts the Daltons to try and crush their arch-nemesis with a boulder. While Jack forces Avril to eat a bar of soap, William frees Joe from Rin Tin Can using a file. In the episode, Ma severs the tether using a sledgehammer, and the gag of Avril actually enjoying the taste of soap is never used. Also, the sequence where the Daltons attempt to kill Lucky Luke with a rock does not occur in the original story. Ma Dalton orders Rin Tin Can to lie down when she goes to see why her sons are taking so long. In the comic, Rin Tin Can is ordered to stay down when the Dalton family are about to leave for the mine. Because he is so terrified of her, the dumb dog obeys and remains flat for the majority of the comic. Ma Dalton is apparently strong enough to push a boulder to one side using her foot. This also does not happen in the original book. Ma robs the butcher of half a cow and his cart, and then takes her boys to hide out at the abandoned mine. In the episode, the Daltons go to the mine straight after Ma rescues them, and then Joe accompanies her to town so he can rob a store while she robs a store. Lucky Luke almost catches Joe, but he escapes thanks to Rin Tin Can refusing to move. Luke states that a vet has given Rin Tin Can some kind of medicine to persuade him to walk again, but once Ma Dalton passes by, Rin Tin Can collapses again. In the comic, although Luke takes him to a vet, the doctor can't make Rin Tin Can stand up. Joe, William and Jack are fed up with Avril being spoiled by their mother, and so Joe comes up with a plan. He and his two brothers will make Ma proud by robbing all the towns within a walkable distance. So they don't arouse suspicion, they will each dress up in their mother's clothes, and to make the look complete, they shave off their moustaches. In the episode, Joe doesn't explain his scheme to any of his family, and also doesn't shave. As soon as he leaves the bank, Joe bumps into Ma, who had come to town for some cat food. Ma attempts to return the money, but Lucky Luke shows up and arrests her. In the comic, Ma doesn't catch Joe until a few days later, by which point William and Jack have also robbed banks in different towns. Also, it is the bank manager who pulls a gun on Ma and sends for the sheriff. In the episode, Rin Tin Can chases after Sweetie while Luke is taking Ma to the jail. In the comic, the sheriff's wife adopted Sweetie, and thus the cat and dog chase commences indoors first. That night, the Dalton brothers are about to help Ma escape, but she frees herself by tricking the sheriff into giving her a cup of tea. In the episode, Luke, knowing that the Daltons will come to free their mother, dresses up as Ma and waits in the jail. Only Joe, William and Jack have come to town since Joe knew Avril's idiocy would likely foil the escape, which it almost does in the book. Instead of using guns, they blow up the jail. The brothers are completely fooled by Luke's ridiculously bad disguise, and take him back to their hideout. The final act of the comic book, which takes up the last 10 pages, was not included in this adaptation. Instead, Ma shows up at the mine and unmasks Lucky Luke. By extinguishing the light, Luke escapes, and while accidentally fighting each other in the dark, the Daltons cause the mine to collapse. Ma somehow escapes and is about to blow up our heroes when Rin Tin Can saves the day. Except not really. In the comic, the last part of the story involves Luke tracking down the Daltons to the mine thanks to Rin Tin Can, only to find they've gone. The robberies continue, and Luke eventually sets a trap in which William, Jack and Avril get arrested. Ma tells Joe that she really does love him, even if she hardly ever shows it. At gunpoint, Joe almost gets Luke to release his brothers, but they have set fire to the jail, and in the confusion and smoke, Luke knocks out Joe. Ma almost has a showdown with Luke, but gets distracted by Sweetie and Rin Tin Can. The episode ends with the Dalton brothers back in prison, along with their mother. The comic ends with the sheriff telling Lucky Luke that Ma Dalton somehow escaped, which neither of them are remotely bothered about, and we are shown that she used the money her son stole to open a restaurant. Meanwhile, Rin Tin Can is still flat and has been changed to Joe again.